r/AskReddit, what is an unexplainable memory from your childhood? Every year at our cabin I have a dream I fall into the lake. Was told later that I fell in when I was younger. I never have this dream at home. IDK if the repressed memory is trying to tell me not to go on the water or just don't be stupid and fall face first. When I was 10 or 11, I woke up very early in the morning to someone driving down our long driveway. It was dark outside, but I just barely peeped out my window to watch a man look into all of our car windows, survey our flower beds, and finally peer into my bedroom window. I played asleep, and when I looked out the window again, he was driving backwards out of our driveway. In the morning, I mentioned what I saw to everyone, but no one acknowledged hearing or seeing anything, despite the man's headlights being very bright, maybe even switched to brights, and he slammed his car doors very loudly. But I can remember how scary it was having his face pressed against the window above my head and praying he didn't try the lock. No one believes me to this day. I swear it was not a dream. When I was a kid I had a classmate over who claimed he was a vampire. I didn't believe him. I told him if his eyes glow in the dark, that would prove he was a vampire. We went into the bathroom and I turned off the light. His eyes were glowing. It scared the crap out of me. I opened the door, ran outside, jumped on my bike, and got as far away from my house as I thought I could. When I eventually came back home the classmate was gone, and my dad was pissed that I abandoned my friend. Only my neighbor was able to make it to my birthday party because of an incredibly strong and sudden snowstorm. I remember the day and the snow so clearly, but my birthday is in July. Breathing underwater. Turns out a lot of people have memories of being able to do something similar. Still haven't gotten an explanation. Well, we did all spend 9 months scuba diving before springing forth into the world. I was like 3 to 5 years old when this happened. I woke one night while camping in a cabin and I saw a cattail dangle from this lamp. It had sink down and then disappear back up into the lampshade. It also started calling for me, going like hoo-hoo. Unnerved the hell out of little me. I can't remember if I just never checked to see if there was anything there or that I did check and there was nothing there. I chalk it up to just being so tired I was hallucinating. The whole neighborhood thought I was kidnapped. I don't really know why and what the actual fuck is the thought process of how they think that happened, but apparently the people are frantically searching me. What I remembered is that my elder cousin and her husband took me to an internet cafe to let me watch them pick their wedding outfits. When we returned, everyone was shocked. My brother smiles because he knew I was in trouble. My mom was crying and my dad slapped the shit out of me. It was so surreal. I could lucid dream when I was a kid. I would actually get really excited to go to bed because I could decide what to dream and then dream it. I had a reoccurring character in my lucid dreaming. He was a boy my age with blonde hair. We would always play in this backyard/playground type setting that has a big brick wall on the edge. One night I dreamt that we really wanted to find out what was on the other side of that wall. So we climbed a tree and the boy climbed onto the wall, looked back at me and waved, and went over it. I never lucid dreamed again after that. It actually caused me a lot of distress as a kid. I legit missed him terribly and tried so hard to lucid dream, but just couldn't do it anymore after that. I had a dream that I met a girl around my age when I was kid. We shared a whole summer together, playing games and all that. I faintly remember her smiling with the sun behind her before the dream ended. I woke up crying and feeling like I just lost someone important. When I was 6, I had a girlfriend named Molly. I moved away the next year and never saw her again. For the next 40 years, one of my earliest and most vivid memories was me watching a 6-year-old redhead girl running away from me, up towards her house, yelling, "Mommy, mommy, Jonathan kissed me," and her mother's voice coming back, "Well, that must mean he really likes you." A few years ago, I'd had a little sangria and decided to see if Molly was on Facebook. I know. There she was. Right name, right age, right hometown, lovely red hair. I met her asking if she was the right red-headed girl. She wrote back that she was definitely the right Molly and was happy to hear from me, but she'd only started dyeing her hair red after college. Memory's a trip, man. When I was about 4 or 5, I was in the foyer by my front door when I saw my father come in the house, put down his briefcase, and then walk to my mother to give her a kiss on the cheek. Then the front door opened again. It was my father again. I looked next to me where I had seen him put his briefcase. It was gone. I looked back at him, scared, and said, "You just did that." I have never hallucinated in the more than 25 years since this happened, and nothing like it has ever happened since. I welcome theories or explanations. When I was really young, I was being babysat by a couple of teenage/college age girls that were friends with one of my older cousins. They took me to a party, laid me down in a random bedroom upstairs, and put on a random videotape that definitely wasn't Barney or anything else suited for children. My mom swears this never happened, but I remember it way too clearly for me to make it up. My mom told me that when I was a toddler, I would almost never drink any liquids. This was until I was 5, when I hit my jaw on a pole. And for some reason, after that, I always drink lots of water. Even to this day. Your mom probably said drink your water or I'll hit you in the jaw with this pole. I'm like 95% sure I sort of got hit by a car when crossing the street with my mom. There was a red light and we didn't cross at a crosswalk. A car inched forward and I remember falling onto the hood. But I was fine. I used to literally get flashbacks for years. But my mom swears it never happened. I think she's lying. I have this memory of sleeping in an office block in South London with my mum on an airbed. I recall looking out of the window and feeling sad. Years later I was driving and got a very strong impulse to stop outside this building, and I was 100% certain it was that one. Every time I went past it felt odd. My mum says it didn't happen. Everyone else concurs. My best conclusion at this stage is that I probably had a very vivid dream that became conflated with something else. A small upstairs apartment. The only thing separating the kitchen from the living room was a countertop. My dad was in a chair in the corner facing toward the kitchen, holding me. There was a couch in the middle of the room with 2 adults sitting there, while my brother ran circles around the couch. My mom was in the kitchen making a pizza talking to the other adults. It's more a recurring dream I had for many years than a memory. I finally asked my mom about it, and she confirmed it happened. But I said I was only around 6 months old, so I shouldn't remember it. However, my biological dad passed when I was 8, so I just kind of always took it as a memory he wanted me to keep. I met Dolly Parton when I was a kid. I have no idea why or how, but it was in Illinois. It was like meeting the sun. She was just the nicest person ever. And it was the first time I ever met anyone with a southern accent, and I told her that, and she died laughing. I know my dad took me, but nobody really knows why. Sometime before the age of 5, I remember being convinced that if I tried hard enough and believed in myself, I could fly. So I would practice flying, jumping down the stairs when nobody was watching. I never developed my ability to fly, but I vividly remember basically cannonballing down 14 steps and just gliding down in midair and landing at the bottom totally safe and uninjured. Many times over the years. One of my first memories as a child was when I was playing outside when I was 3 to 4 years old. I was hiding behind a bush and some kind of bug, guessing it was a spider, was crawling up the side of the house next to me. When I reached down to pick it up, someone grabbed my arm. I remember it scaring the crap out of me, and when I instantly turned around and no one was there. I don't believe in God or angels, and I've always wondered if this was a dream, because it's the only thing that I can't explain. I remember laying in bed one night, staring hard out the window, because it was storming pretty bad. All of a sudden, it got even darker than it was, and my mom calmly walked in my room and said, "Stop looking out the window, honey. It's not safe." Then she left, and I saw garbage tossed into the air, and I could hear the shingles slapping against the roof cause they nearly got ripped off. Pretty obvious it was a tornado, but the next day, my parents acted like nothing happened. We went outside at one point and everything looked the same as it always was, so I don't know if it really happened or if it was a dream. I'll have to ask my mom later and see if she remembers anything about that day. I was laying down in bed trying to fall asleep All of a sudden it appeared that a ghost hand emerged from behind my bookshelf and grabbed the book on the end of the shelf. I was scared out of my mind at first, but then convinced myself it was just a dream, so I could fall asleep. The next day, when I woke up, the book on the end of the shelf was missing. I never could find it. You donated a good book to a ghost. Good on you. I have an extremely vivid memory of my brother and I standing on top of our backyard tool shed some 13 or so years ago. We climbed up top and then proceeded to fly around in the air about 30 feet over the grass. Eventually we got scared that we wouldn't be able to land, so we came back down. And of course, we couldn't do it again. Here's the best part, my brother also has this exact same memory, down to all the details. We genuinely don't know what happened and still wonder it was real. I'm not sure how to account for it. Probably 8 years old, my mom was looking out the window and said, "Come look at this." When I saw what she was pointing at, it was a silvery orb in the sky, I'm guessing a mile or two away, that was moving. Left then right then closer then farther. Each movement was very quick and probably half a mile in distance. I remember I looked up and said, "What is it?" She said, "I don't know. Do you think it's a UFO?" Just then it vanished with a streak, followed by a rainbow flash that instantly went away. Always wondered about it. I actually forgot about it until reading this thread. When I was about 5 or 6, my younger brother told me he wanted to show me a secret. He was 3 or 4. We waited until no one was around and he started jumping on tramp. He said, "Ready? Watch this," and then hung suspended in the air for about 10 seconds. It sounds crazy, but to this day we both know it happened. I won free tickets to see Jurassic Park from winning a coloring contest at IHOP when I was like 8. I swear the cast came to the front of the theater and greeted people. This was in a local theater in Denver, Colorado. I swear to God, one time I saw someone, full-sized adult, in an Easter bunny costume in our dining room. This was in my first house, so I had to be 3 or younger, because we moved after that. My mom and dad swear no one dressed up, but I know I was awake and saw it. I thought it was magical/mystical as a child, but now my adult mind just remembers it and gets creeped the fuck out. I remember being young and always looking for a toy. I never found it, but I also never knew what I was looking for. It baffles me to this day why I looked so hard for something I didn't know what it was. I recently remembered that a girl used to sit on my lap when I took swimming classes around the age 12 years old. After remembering more details, some being sexual, I asked my mum, and she answered I used to hang about with my friend's sister who would have been 17 at the time. No one knew what was going on, but my mum stopped me seeing her after she invited a 12-year-old me to her house for a birthday party. Somewhere down the line my mind realized it was not normal and suppressed the memory. So it almost feels like it isn't my own memory and some parts still creep me out a little. My brother, kids in the neighborhood and I were building a fort in the woods behind our house. Came across a bayonet and a big butcher's knife under some leaves in the woods way too close to our property. To this day, nobody knows who put it there or why. I used to sleep on the top bunk. I was around 6. It was the middle of the night and I woke up and looked down to the floor. My toddler sister was walking around the room. I said her name. She looked up at me and vanished. I remember this vividly, down to the pajamas she was wearing. She's alive and in her 30s now, in case anyone thinks I saw a ghost. When I was super young, like 4 or something, I had some weird things wake me up. This happened at least 4 times that I can recall. I would fall asleep somewhere and wake up to a part of the blanket or like a ribbon crawling over my chest. In bed it was a part of the blanket that seemed to come to life and just slither over my chest. On a couch it was a strip of the fabric that would come out from under the cushions. It had to be some weird ass dream, right?